Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jani from the SCE Event Group, and today I want to offer 5 pieces of advice to any couple that's currently going through the planning of a wedding celebration. So I want to offer you 5 pieces of advice of things you should do to make the process, 1, more enjoyable, 2, a little bit easier, and 3, just to try to help you out. Let's face it, the COVID-19 global pandemic has really impacted the entire event industry as a whole, not just in the Northeast United States, not just the entire United States, but on a global scale. This virus, this pandemic has impacted so many different people in so many different places, and the event industry has been incredibly impacted because social gatherings in the United States, specifically the Northeast, really just can't happen right now because of all the different guidance, executive orders, restrictions, and if you can have a wedding, it might not be originally what you set up for, especially if you've been planning for a little while. But people are still getting engaged and the planning continues for future dates. So I wanted to offer 5 pieces of advice to help any couple who's currently going through the wedding planning process in any stage. First and foremost, dealing with the emotional roller coaster is something that you really can't relate to any other point in time. I've been doing this a little bit longer than I probably ever want to admit, and truth be told, we've never experienced anything like this in the event industry. So it's not like you can ring up your cousin who got married 5 years ago and just talk about the situation we're in right now with them. And the roller coaster of emotions seems to take shape for different people in different ways. Chances are, when you first got engaged, you had these dreams or aspirations or even expectations of having an event that you've always dreamed of. And you know what? Now there's some circumstances which may be impacting the amount of people that you can have, whether you can or can't have your event, and restrictions like having a dance floor or not, or whatever. There's a lot of different things that are impacting couples in this struggle right now today. So my first piece of advice to any couple planning a wedding is to find your tribe. What does that mean? It's simple. Find other couples, whether on social networks, whether in forums, whether in discords, whether in networking groups. Find other couples who are currently going through the process that you're going through. It will only help you when you can talk to people that are going through the same exact thing. In New Jersey, there's an incredible New Jersey Bride Facebook group that has thousands of couples in it, and they all share information. There's posts every day, and they're super active, and it's moderated by an incredible team at New Jersey Bride. That's just one example. But these things are all over the place, not just in New Jersey. There's platforms like The Knot, where there's a strong forum network, and you can even line up with your local area as well on that platform. Let's face it, when you can share, lean on, and even communicate with other people that are going through something very similar to you, although it might not be the same, it might help you get through the process when you learn and understand what other people are doing, how they're dealing with it, and really just being able to talk about your struggle. It's a big deal. And you don't want to get into the wedding funk of always looking at things negative. Even if you can't have your wedding the original way you wanted it, you know what? There's a ton of options. And by getting involved with other people, in terms of discussion, you might learn about how other people have resolved the same issue that you're going through that might be a little bit further in the process, or you might be able to share your lessons learned of things that you've experienced and how you've dealt with them to people that are just starting the process. Number 2, I want to talk about contracts. I think this is an important part of the overall process, and it's always been an important part of the overall wedding and event kind of design and booking process, right? You need to understand the clauses in the contracts, you need to understand your liabilities, you need to understand your exposure points, and you need to understand how and where your money goes at what point in time throughout the entire process. In addition to that, you need to understand the cancellation policy. You need to understand your postponement policy, and you need to understand what fees are due should you decide to postpone to a later date and time or cancel altogether. This stuff is something that I would never think of in the past. But with over 1,000 events impacted just on my company's kind of book alone, I can tell you this has become one of the most important issues that couples are kind of like struggling with vendors in the planning process. So if you've already selected your vendors, reach out to them. Just ask kind of what's the cancellation policy? What's the postponement policy if you need to do that? And just get an understanding of where you're at in the overall process. If you are just selecting your vendors, that's a great question to kind of even start your meetings off with. Just understand what happens, what if. The what if is super powerful. What if we have to cancel? What if we have to postpone? What if things change? What are your options? Do they have solutions? And how are you going to navigate the uncertain unknowns in front of you with this pandemic that seems to be changing almost weekly at this point? And it's just crazy. Number 3, I want to offer this to everyone that's just starting the planning process. And this is an important part of the overall event planning process. Meet with the vendors that are going to be on site at your wedding. So what I'm trying to say, this is not required for every vendor, every service that you're booking for your wedding. But if there's something that revolves around talent or experience, and that person or that organization or that group will be present during your wedding ceremony, your wedding day, your wedding reception, your after party, it's super important you talk to the person that is responsible for that overall organization, that overall product, that overall service. So if you're booking a photographer, don't talk to the owner, don't talk to a salesperson. Before you sign a contract, make sure you meet with and line up with the person that's going to be on site. Now, you don't have to do every photographer, but it's important that you meet with the key person, the leader, the head of that group before you sign a contract. Same goes with cinema. Same goes with entertainment. It's so important that the chemistry fits and that you guys get along. And this is a piece of planning advice I give way before COVID. I think it is super important that you meet and plan your celebration with the person that's going to be on site before you sign a contract. Trust me, over the years, we've been part of so many events all over the place. And more times than not, when there's an issue with another vendor, it's because the couple never connected with that vendor personally before the event. Trust me, it's something that will pay you back 10 times over in terms of the investment of time at your wedding celebration. It's one of the most important pieces of things that you can do, especially when you're planning the most important and most expensive event of your life. Number 4, I want to talk about planning and I want to talk about contingency planning. So obviously when you plan a wedding, you have things in place, and this kind of goes along with the first or the second issue with contracts. But I think right now, in the current world that we're sitting in, now 8.5 months into this pandemic, having a contingency plan, even for events 1 year out, is important. Think about your what ifs. What if you need to postpone? What if the pandemic gets worse? What if there's no treatment plan? What if you need to make alterations to your plan? 1, can you do it? 2, are you going to be happy with the outcome? 3, if you decide to move things around, what other people, what are your vendors, what are the people around you, how are they going to react? Are they going to be able to provide the service? If not, do you have a date in the future? Because you want to make sure that you can line up your vision and all the things that go into planning a wedding and apply it to a future date. Whether it's a 1 year out postponement or a 6 month out postponement, and this is only if you need to. But contingency planning is not something we've ever really talked about before until 2020. And this is because this pandemic has literally shook the entire planet in terms of the event industry and how things are being done. So I think a part of the overall planning process needs to have some type of contingency component to it, because You never know what's going to happen. I mean, I could have never predicted that my whole company was going to go shut down, lockdown for 6 months. I would have never predicted that. Even in my worst, wildest, craziest dream or nightmare, I could have never predicted what we've had to go through. So I think having a contingency plan as a couple, planning the most incredible celebration of your lives, starting the next chapter, is super important. So will you hold the date and maybe have your vows and have a small intimate ceremony and have the party in the future? Is that something you're willing to do? Are you willing to adjust your plan if there are restrictions on the capacity? Can you ultra personalize it in a way that makes sense, that kind of gives you the celebration that you originally went out to have? Is it possible? Only you can answer that question, but contingency planning is something that you need to think about if you haven't yet thought about. My last piece of advice: everyone you talk to, everywhere you go, people are going to tell you different pieces of advice. So this is a piece of advice that I'm going to give to you, and you need to do what's best for the two of you and your families, your friends, the people that are going to be attending your celebration. That is what matters. Don't think about every single person. Think about your needs. Think about your dreams. Think about your celebration. Think about your wedding ceremony. And you need to act responsibly and do what's best for the people that are closest to you. So if you have people that could be impacted by the virus and you are wishing to continue, don't get upset if they politely decline attending your celebration because they don't want to take on the risk associated with getting sick or even, being exposed to other people or quarantine. I mean, that can put a terrible monkey wrench in someone's life. What I'm trying to say is do what's best for you. So if you have to adjust your plan and be flexible, if you have to recreate your plan and be flexible, if you need to re-envision how your day unfolds, be flexible and be open to it. There are plenty of options for everyone in the craziness of the world that we're living in and experiencing right now with COVID-19. And if you have the right partners around you, you have the right people around you, not just from a family and inner circle perspective, but from a professional vendor perspective, I think it will be a lot easier to navigate through these challenging and uncertain times. So hopefully these pieces of advice help somebody somewhere planning a wedding celebration. And if you'd like to get some information on myself, Jason Jani, or the SCE Event Group, I'd love to invite you to check us out online. You can find us socially everywhere, and that would be at Jason Jani or at SCE Event Group, or you can click the link below in the description field and be ported over to our company website. You can fill out a contact us form if you're starting the wedding planning process, and if you'd like to learn more about how we've helped so many people all over the planet celebrate in style, have a lot of fun, and make incredible history for themselves with incredible boutique-influenced wedding entertainment. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. Would love to invite you to drop in the comments below and leave any other piece of advice that I missed out in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. So feel free to drop below and leave any piece of advice that I maybe have left out that either you've received or you've been given that you felt very, very valuable or helpful. I look forward to engaging with everyone in the comments below, and I super, super, super appreciate everyone checking out this video. Thanks for watching.